Welcome to the Sports Card Lessons Podcast with me, your host, Ken Cairns. Don't forget to hit me up on social media. You can find me on Instagram at sportscard_lessons. If you want to email me, it's sportscardlessons@gmail.com. You can also watch on YouTube. Whether you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or watching on YouTube, if you like what you hear, please like, subscribe, and most importantly, tell a friend, spread the word. Happy Friday, everybody. How is everybody doing? I hope you're pumped for the weekend. I've got a big show in Springfield this weekend I'm getting ready for, really excited about. Today's episode, what's your hobby style? Look, we all know there's so many people out there, so many different types of collectors. Are you a prospector? Do you go for the GOATs? Do you want modern? Do you go for vintage? You know, regardless of what you PC, whether you're new to the hobby like me or you're a veteran, I think you'll agree it's very easy to start down the rabbit hole. No matter who I talk to, we've all been there. We find a team, we find the guy that we like, and then we just start buying the cards, or we go, buy boxes, and we're searching online. I mean, this is how I started. I've talked about this the last couple of weeks. Coming from, I used to frequent the casino, and a lot of this is really that same mentality. Like, you're hoping to find fire in these boxes, pulling bangers out of these boxes, which, maybe sometimes you do, but most of the time you don't. Most of them are duds. If you've ever opened up, boxes, and I'm sure everybody's opened up boxes, right? Panini boxes, regardless of what they tell you, how many autos are in there or what's in that box. You got to get lucky. If you're going to pull a banger out of a box, you just have to be lucky, and you have to open a lot. I've talked to people who say, geez, I bought one box and I pulled this card out. I said, man, you are a lucky person, because I've opened up 30 of those boxes and I haven't even come close to hitting any bangers. So you really have to be lucky. I think it's the norm for most people who start in this hobby to prospect. I know I did. I know other people who are newer to the hobby I talk to, they prospect too. It's all about the young, the rookies, getting these young rookies and hoping they pop right away, or storing them, throwing them in the closet, waiting a year or two, whether it's baseball and now even soccer a little bit too. I think I've been prospecting on soccer, and I've just been buying boxes and opening them and putting them away. Just kind of a sub hobby to my hobby, right? Because I enjoy opening boxes. So I buy some boxes. Is it the smartest thing to do? Probably not. At the end of the day, unless I have some unbelievable cards in there, or a lot of one person that is going to be, becomes a GOAT or a star that I could really cash in on that card. More than likely, I hope to break even, and if I can make some money on it, I was happy opening the boxes and hoping, for a banger. But that's who I am, But ripping boxes, buying into breaks, you start to become focused on a couple players, that we believe are future GOATs. So that's what we're jumping into. And at one time or another, I mean, I ask myself all the time, and I'm sure you do, is this money well spent? And really, the honest answer is no, even though we really like doing it, and we're probably not going to stop doing it. But I'm just going to kind of throw out there a little bit why it just doesn't make sense, why it's not money well spent, right? Because I told you I'm an odds guy. I in earlier episodes, I really look at the odds on things, and those odds aren't great, right? They're not. Let's take football, for instance. So I did a little research on this. Do you know, and maybe some of you do know the answer to this question, do you know how many different football products Panini released in 2021? All the different boxes that they put out just under the Panini name. Right? There's 32 different boxes. And for most of us, on some of those boxes, we're waiting for these releases to come. I'm part of these groups online. I'm part of these groups on Facebook, and they tell me, oh, it's March 30th. There's a release for this. April 4th is a release for that. April 20th. Oh, I talked to this person. I talked to that person. Right? I mean, everybody knows when these boxes are being released. Um, I go online. I know we talked about this. I go buy boxes online, and I sell a lot of these boxes at shows, but I like to open them. I'm opening less now and selling more because that's what makes more sense to me: make money versus losing money. Um, but I'll just say, this week on the Target website, boxes came up, and I know exactly what time they come up, what morning to be there, when to be there. Up early, set my alarm. I'm in front of the computer, refresh. The Mosaic football mega boxes literally lasted 30 seconds online before they were sold out, and I got none, and I was prepared. I did get some other cards, but there's certain cards you can't even get online either. I mean that these things are just being sold unbelievably fast. Why? Because people are buying them. These guys are buying them. They're putting on eBay. They're bringing them to shows. I mean, these things are being marked up 2, 3, 4 times. I mean, I know this. I see it. I see people buy boxes from me, and I go to their card store and I see those boxes on their shelf. So I bought it. I marked it up. I sold it to them, and they've marked it up, and put it on their shelves. So these boxes, there's never a shortage of people wanting to buy these boxes. And think about it, 32 different boxes. And if you want to prospect, a rookie, let's pick a rookie, Mac Jones this year. He was all the rage this year, Mac Jones. It's almost impossible to obtain high-end cards from all 32 boxes. I mean, unless you've got money's no object, you can go and start buying every box and getting like a Mac Jones out of every box. But for the most of us, it's almost absolutely impossible to do that. And I'm even more amazed as I go to shows and I go to card stores and I go look online and I go through eBay and Facebook and see what people like. Every day I see a new Mac Jones card. I'm like, this is unbelievable, right? Is it an RPA? Is it not an RPA? And it's unbelievable how many of those cards are out there. That there's so many of these cards out there now. So if I say, okay, I get a PC Mac Jones, and then I'm going to start buying cards. I mean, I'd be broke. I'd be broke trying to buy every card that I find a Mac Jones. I mean, every card. I mean, they look great, right? Most of them are graded. People have graded them quickly. I mean, I had Mac Jones rookies that I graded as fast as I could, and long story, but that didn't pay off. But some of those higher end ones, I mean, people are making money. But it's just unbelievable how many different versions of all these cards there are. Last week I talked about being patient, at card shows. I mean, I think this really goes for collecting in the hobby too. I really I continue taking a step back and a step back. Who do I want to PC? Who do I want to collect? And then I just start researching and saying, well, who is, if I'm going to buy one card, what is the card I'm going to buy? Because I can't go out and buy them all. I mean, I'll take the wrestling cards, for instance. I mean, you look at the cards that come from just this year, 2021, there's like 5 or 6 or 7 Tops has them. They're the same people, but they're all different. They're numbered, they're autographed. And you start looking, and these cards are like $400, $500, $600 a card. And you're like, well, geez, if I bought 4 of these things, I mean, we're almost into $3,000 just on these top end cards, and the football cards and the basketball cards, so much higher, so much higher end, so much more money out there being spent on those cards. So I'm looking at a sport that is not invested into as much as other sports right now, and those cards are high end. So that just shows you there's the benchmark for sports like football and basketball. Look at Patrick Mahomes, for instance. He was a rookie in 2017. I tried to find research of how many Patrick Mahomes cards Panini produced since 2017. I could not find any information on that. But I bet you it would blow people's minds how many Mahomes cards are out there. I like Mahomes cards. I go out there, I go to the shows, I see online, and it's just unbelievable. All of a sudden I see it, I'm like, oh geez, what product was this from? Keep turning them over. I'm like, oh my God, I've never seen this card. I thought I saw every Mahomes card, and now here's another card I've never seen. So it's just unbelievable how many cards are out there. And if you narrowed down your players to who you want a PC, especially if you're prospecting, I mean, what can you do? What is the way to go about getting them? I think you've got three choices, right? You're either going to buy the boxes and rip them open and hope for the best, and you're going to have to buy a lot of boxes because you're looking for the rookies. I mean, that's really what we're doing it for prospecting. You're going to buy into group breaks online or wherever, mostly online, right? Buy into group breaks, and hopefully, you're going to end up with your card, and those could get really expensive really fast. And there's nothing worse than buying into a break and spending a lot of money on the Patriots and have them, open up their boxes and not one Patriot came out, or maybe a lineman came out, or a running, and you're like, really? I spent all that money and there's no Mac Jones. So, I mean, it's just a loss. It's a complete L if it doesn't come out. And what's the third thing? Buy the card, right? I mean, from my personal experience, it's always cheaper just to go buy the card. Do we want to do that? That's the most boring part of the hobby. I mean, you're not actually being involved in the hobby if you're just going out and buying the card. And there are people, I'm very good friends with people in the hobby, that's all they do. They look at me and they're like, why would you open up a box of cards? Like, just take your money and buy. And I think it's just something about the hobby that you just like to rip the boxes open. Like, you want, what you're looking for in the box. There's always the chase cards in the box, but I find a lot of times you pull a card that you weren't looking for, and then you're like, wow, this is nice. And I go look it up online. I'm like, well, that just paid for the box, right? So then I wrap it up, sleeve it up, or put it in a one touch, and it goes in my case at the next show. And hopefully it sells, right? I haven't done really any selling online of any of these things, but I see, you can go on to eBay, and I talked about eBay last week versus going to the show. I mean, it's a great place to get a lot of knowledge too. I mean, you can go there and just find cards and look at cards and find out what they're selling for, and watching the values go up and down on them, and try to get a good deal, especially if it's something you're just going to hold on to. Try to get a good, and I'll tell you my personal experience on all of this, and I'm going to tell you, I don't follow it, but it's cheaper to buy the card. Honestly, I know it sounds boring, and I guarantee you it makes the most sense. Unless you're extremely lucky to pull a card yourself, or to get into a break and have a card being pulled, which I said is very costly. You're better off buying the card. I'm just going to give you an example. Happened to me this week. I wanted an NHL rookies, right? More prospecting. That's who I am. I wanted Trevor Zagris and a Cole Caulfield Young Guns rookie card. So I go online and I order 2 Upper Deck Series 1 hobby boxes, right? $135 a box, guaranteed 6 Young Guns per box. So I get the boxes, I open the boxes, 6 Young Guns each. I ended up with 15. So somewhere along the line, I got a bonus box. 15 Young Guns and various inserts, but no Zengris, no Caulfield. 2 cards that I started this whole little journey. I just wanted those 2 cards. So now I go on eBay and I see the Zengris card is $130. The Caulfield card's $100. So it's $230 plus tax and shipping on eBay versus the $270 plus tax with the no guarantee on the boxes that I open. So now for $500, I have a Zengris, a Caulfield, and 15 Young Guns, right? I mean, so I paid twice as much for the 2 cards that I was looking for on there. Twice as much. So if I would have said at the beginning of the week, these are the 2 cards I want, I'm just go on eBay and buy them. Right? I would have had them, and I would have had, another, $200 and something in my pocket. On the other hand, and I know you're saying this, I got 15 Young Guns, right? And various inserts. So what do? I put those away. So hopefully in a year or two, some of those other Young Guns will pay out. There was a couple of them where the prices were a little high, but most of them are pretty low right now because they're unproven rookies. Right? Even they call them Young Guns, they're expecting good things from them, but they haven't done anything great yet. And we all know sports, and we all know that's how it goes. Like the Tom Brady, who was a late round draft pick, and nobody did anything, invested anything in him, and then he ends up becoming a GOAT. So that's my take on that. You're better off buying the card. It's the cheapest way to go. I know it's hard. I know it's extremely hard to say, oh, I'm just going to buy the card. And I know it's pretty boring too. It's certainly not. It is certainly not fun, right? To order. It's nice when it shows up in the mail. I buy some cards that I really like, and I get so excited when they show up in the mail. And I get them and I put them in my case and I walk away, and that was the end of it. And to me, I'm glad I have the card. I was happy to find it, but it didn't give me that thrill of buying the box and pulling it out of the box. And maybe that's what I'm getting at. It's that thrill of ripping open the box and finding that card. And I understand it. We all understand it, but that rabbit hole can get pretty deep, and you can get that pretty deep down that rabbit hole trying to find the cards while you're ripping these boxes open. So my deals of the week this week. So I had 2 deals. I actually did a show this past weekend, a local show here in Connecticut. And I had a couple of young guys come up to the table. And of course, when you're at a show, the people who show up at your table, they're a distributor. So they showed up to the table, had a case. I said, hey, what you selling? What's in the case? So he pulled out 2020 Panini Prism, Kyler Murray. It's a red prism, PSA 10. If you're on YouTube, I'm holding it up now. It's a Pop 3, and he was asking $600 for it. And I just felt that was way too much. It was hard to get a comp on it because it's a Pop 3, and nothing had sold recently on this card. So somebody else at the show was there that I really trust their opinion, really knows cards inside and out. I called them over. I said, hey, what do you think of this card? What do you think the price is on this card? He said, it's probably like a $450 to $475 card. I said, okay, thanks. So, I always feel, if you want to get comps on a card, you need to buy a table at a show. If you're showing up on the other side of the table, you can't expect comps. And if you do, you could. Maybe somebody really wants that card. They're going to show up and they're going to pay comps on it. But on my side of the table, unless it's something I really want or I'm trading up, and I'll get into that in just a minute, I'm not going to pay comps. If I'm paying you cash for a card, I'm just not going to pay comps. So I said, look in my case. Is there something in my case you would like? Maybe we could do a trade, part cash. And he said, no, I'm just looking for cash. I just want to cash out on the card. And I said, okay. I said, I could probably do $350 on it. And he said, oh no, that's way too low. He goes, I need, at least $500 on it. I said, well, we're really too far apart. I said, but it's a nice card, and I'm going to be here. If you change your mind and you want to negotiate a little more, come on back. And his friend was standing there, and he says, oh, I see you have UFC cards in your thing. And he handed me a handful of like 3 or 4, Prism UFC cards, very low end stuff. I looked comps up on them. They were I think they were about 50 or 60 bucks. And I said, look, I'll give you 30 for them. It's they're not nothing high end. And he's like, yeah, that's fine. I'm happy with that. I'm like, all right. So they left. And then they came back later, and the kid came back to the table. And at this point, I know he tried to peddle it around at his price and nobody was going to buy it. So he came back to the table. He's like, hey, I could do 475. I said, we're still not close. I said, I'm at 350. I said, you want to start working your way towards the $400 range? We can talk. He said, well, this guy over there said, he could give me 425. Can you do 425? And I said, no. I said, you should probably go sell it to him for 425. So he walked off and he came back again a third time. I knew I was gonna have this card by the time he came back, because I was the only one really interested in purchasing this card, which kind of makes me nervous too. Why wasn't anybody else, really pushing? So why he walked off the second time, I said to my buddy, I said, you're sure on that card? He goes, yeah, I'm totally sure. I've seen this card before. I know the card. I said, okay. So when he came back the third time, we ended up making a deal for $390 on the card, and he still didn't want anything out of my case. So it was a straight up cash. So I took the card for $390, and I came home and I did a lot of research on it. And yeah, my buddy was absolutely right. It's a 450 to 475 card, which is good. I mean, to me, that was just a good deal. It was a good pickup, and I'll hang on to this card, and I'll take it to nationals with me when I go out there in July, and try to move the card then. My other pickup of the week was interesting, because when I first got into this, doing the cards, I got into tennis. Wasn't the first tennis wasn't the first thing I was into, but I started looking at the tennis. Right to this day, I still don't know why I started looking at tennis, but I enjoy looking at the tennis. And I talked last week about an Anna Kournikova card that really sparked my interest and became a kind of a chase card for me. And back in, I think it was December, it was right around Christmas time, I saw, we all do this. We put on eBay, notify me if any of these cards come up for sale. And this card came up for sale. It was one of those, I got up in the morning and I said, oh, wow, there's the card I want. There's that chase card. And it was $800. And by the time I got up, got out of bed, got downstairs, got my breakfast, and pulled my phone out, it was already sold. Somebody bought the card immediately. That's how rare that this card shows up online. So I said, oh man, I should have jumped on it a little more. And I don't know at that time if I was prepared to pay the 800. I'm really not sure, wasn't sure what the price of the card was. When I researched back on this card, I found previous versions of the card sold for about $500 or $600. So fast forward to this past week, actually 2 weeks ago. Was it 2 weeks? Maybe 2 weeks, maybe a little bit more. So another one comes up, and the seller is selling it for $2,500 on eBay. And it is, actually, I should tell you what it is. It is a 2003 Net Pro Glossy. It's Anna Kournikova. It's an International Series preview. And these were numbered. They were insert cards. So there was 5,000 boxes of these cards made. And in those 5,000, they made the short print to 500. And this was numbered 78 of 500. And again, if you're on YouTube, I'm holding it up. Show you what it looks like. It's a great looking card. And I that exact card I saw, and I said, I had taken a picture of that card, and I was looking for that card. Fast forward, this card becomes available. It's $2,500. And I start messaging with the guy, and I said, look, this other one, it was for sale for $800, but it ended up selling for $550. And it was a BGS 9. This was a PSA 9. And I said I could do the $550. And he said, no, I need to get more for it. We messaged back and forth a couple times. I said, look, I could go as high as $800. I won't not go any higher than that. And he says, I tell you what I'll do. If this doesn't sell for more than $1,000, I'll sell it to you for $800. I said, okay. So it's on there for a couple of weeks, and every few days he keeps dropping the price. So it goes from 25 to 22, all the 18, 15, 12. It goes to $1,000. Then it goes to $975. And actually, when it was at $1,000, another one, a PSA 10, showed up online on eBay for $2,500. So I start messaging with that person. I said, hey, I see the BGS 9, so for $550. I could do as well, I could do as high as $800 for the card if you want. Now this was a 10, PSA 10, not the. And he said, no, this card will sell for well over $1,000. And I said, okay. The last one didn't sell, so I was just going to watch this one. So now I watched this one for a week. So now the other guy messaged me, the PSA 9, and says, okay, it's yours for $800. And I ignore his message because I'm thinking I can get a better deal on this now. You made me wait this long, and obviously there's no interest and nobody bought the card. So I messaged the PSA 10 guy and say, look, I'm going to kill your comp because I can buy this card over here for $500 and you're asking for over $1,000. If you do $800 on the card, I'll buy your card for $800 and save your comp. But if not, I'm gonna gotta buy the other PSA 9 for $500. It's gonna kill your comp. You tell me what you want me to do. And then he ignored me. He didn't even respond to me. So then I sent them another message. I said, look, I'm not trying to pressure you. I'm gonna own one of these cards, whether it's your 10 or his 9. So he responded back to me. He said, I appreciate it. I know, I understand what you're saying. He said, I can't let mine go for under $1,000. He said, if you can get that for $5, take it. I said, okay. So I went to the other guy and I took this card for $500. So again, I'm holding it up. Very excited to be part of my PC. It will not go to shows. It'll be here on my wall. And I was thinking when I bought the 9 and the other guys stayed up there, I said, maybe I'll be able to get this one for $800 at the end of the day and have both a 9 and a 10. But 2 days later, he took it off, and I messaged him. I said, did you sell it? He said, no, I just decided to hang on to it. To me, it was not worth letting it go. I would rather keep the card at this time. And I said, okay. I said, look, if you change your mind down the road, you want to sell it, you've got my information, contact me. So that's where I was on that. So off to our teachable moment, getting down to the end. We're not going to do a live rip. I felt, after I do this, I listen to them over and over. I try to improve on anything I can. And I almost felt like I was kind of losing myself at the end of the last one. And I think it's tough for people who are just listening. If you're online for YouTube, right? I guess it's easier for the to do a live rip, but so I think I'm not going to do the weekly rip, but we're definitely going to hit the teachable moment at the end of every episode. So today's teachable moment: pace yourself in the hobby. Create a budget, make a plan, stay on track. Just listen to that because I'm going to repeat it again. Pace yourself in the hobby. Pace yourself in the hobby. I see so many people, they jump in and they start getting excited about something, and they're constantly go, and you see deal after deal after deal after deal, and I'm like, I can't believe all these deals people are doing, and I think they burn themselves out. Pace yourself in the hobby. I mean, it's nice you have a hobby, but remember, you've got work, family, friends, you've got a lot of other stuff going on. Don't lose yourself. Don't lose yourself in the hobby. Just pace yourself. Keep it as a hobby. Create a budget and make a plan. I say that because not so much, I think a lot of people in the hobby have figured out how to sustain themselves in the hobby. But I think people coming in, if you're an old school collector, it was just about the cards and there was a lot of trading, not as much cash, just a lot of trading back and forth. And I think this hobby industry has created a way to really get a lot of cash with these breaks, with these online breaks. a lot of, through eBay, things like, because there's no trading on eBay. The card market on there is just unbelievable. You could literally find any card on eBay. So I always say, just create a budget and make a plan. Just stick to it. Just stay on track. As long as you stay on track within your own budget and your own plan, you're doing great. Spend your time and your money smarter. I talked about this earlier. I'm not a great example of it, right? Because I like to open boxes. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, if there's a card you really want and you're on a limited budget, you're better off saving your money and just buying the card. If you got some expendable cash and you're just like, I really enjoy opening boxes, by all means, open the boxes. I do, and I enjoy it. I was listening to a podcast this week, and the guest on the show is a well-known breaker. And he was asked by the host, would you cut someone off in a break if you think they were in over their head financially? And the breaker paused, and he said, I don't understand the question. If you're in the break, you've already paid for it. And if you didn't pay for it, the next guy up will. Everyone listening to the podcast understood the question. He just didn't want to answer it. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. And if you like what you hear, please tell a friend, spread the word. If you have comments, questions, even a suggestion for a show topic, or just want to reach out, hit me up on social media. If you're on YouTube, comment below, on Instagram at sportscard_lessons, or email at sportscardlessons@gmail.com. And until next time, be good to yourself and everyone around you.